Hey guys, so I am back from doing my house sitting thing. Hopefully you guys like the video I put out, with the books I'm using this semester, and then also some of the issues that I ran across in Egan's. Basically not a whole lot has happened. I did finish up my pediatrics course and I ended up passing that with a B, so I didn't make it into the A mark, but as I said before, sometimes these things happen. Things are inevitable. We're not going to get 100% of the time. So it's, although of course I would have liked to have gotten a better grade, it's really nothing to beat myself up over. I just know I need to work harder in that area for next time. We took a test on ABGs. I haven't gotten the grade back for it yet, but it was actually okay. We ended up going back and re-going over some old equations, so it was good to kind of get to use those again. Things like the alveolar air equation, the AA gradient, and I don't think we had oxygen content on there. Maybe we just talked about it. I don't think that was actually on the exam though. So that was actually good to go back and kind of re-practice some of those equations because I haven't done any of those since last semester. So it was a good refresher. We did start our Therapeutics 2 section. So we basically have been reviewing just quickly this week what we went over in the Therapeutics 1 class, which was basically bland aerosol and humidification devices. So it's kind of nice to retouch on those things, make sure they're fresh in my mind. And we did start going over bronchial hygiene. And then in diagnostics, we did finish up ABGs on Thursday. I'll have an exam for pulmonary function testing, which that's a whole nother thing. That's actually pretty complicated. At least the thing that was hardest for me to get the hang of were just the various acronyms, because if you don't get a good understanding of all of the abbreviations, you're going to feel very lost when you're trying to learn the rest, because primarily they give you the abbreviation once and then they just run with it. So if you don't have a full understanding of what it means and what that encompasses, it makes the rest of the information a little bit harder to stick. I think I have it down now. On top of using my books, MedCram and then Strong Medicine both have really great playlists for PFTs, so I definitely recommend those. Between the two, it covered pretty much everything my book covered. Just my book went into a little bit more detail, but that really did help break things down a lot. So if you guys are doing PFTs right now, I would definitely suggest checking out those resources. It helped a ton. And then also what I ended up doing was basically just writing out the abbreviation and what it meant a million times, trying to get it to stick in my head. So I'll have a test on that on Thursday, and then I'll have my first test for Therapeutics 2 on this Wednesday, so you guys might not actually see this until right after I've taken the test, but I guess I'll update you on that a little bit later. Sorry, things are just a little hectic, so I'm recording when I can, basically. My semester will actually wind down once my diagnostics course finishes, because in Nevada, people are required to take Nevada history, which is a course I have already done. I didn't take Nevada history, but I did take US history and then US Constitution, something like that, a few years ago, so that meets that requirement. So I'll actually have 2 days off a week. It'll be nice, and I'll only have Therapeutics 2 to focus on, which I think will be very handy, because we're going to start doing an introduction to bits and pieces of ventilation and vents before we actually do our vent course. So we'll be at least familiar with some of the mechanics of it, I guess, on top of all of the other devices we're going to go through, which will be really nice because I want to make sure I have a strong grasp on all of that before I go out to clinicals. I actually have a week off in between this semester when my clinical starts. So for example, my last day of class will be July 7th, and then I get 1 week off, and then I go back and start clinicals. So I want to, make sure I use those 2 days off a week when I do have them to go back through, make sure I review pharmacology, make sure I've got a good grasp on some of the more commonly used medications, just, a general review, which I'll do over the break as well. I don't think I'll, stress too much over the whole break. I will do some studying, but I don't want to use the 1 week I have off to just destroy myself studying, because I do want to have a relatively clear head and have gotten a bit of rest before I actually start doing clinicals, because my clinicals will actually be 3 days a week, 12 hours per day, so it'll be 36 hours a week of clinical, and then I believe we have 1 day of lab, 1 to 2 days of lab each week. They're still kind of discussing whether they're going to change the way they do our lab days or not, but as far as I'm aware, we will have the 3 12-hour shifts per week for clinicals. So, you know, I want to go into that with a fresh head, because as we all know, when you go into your clinicals, it's like one very big, long interview. I'm aware I'm not going to know everything, obviously, since, you know, it'll be my first rotation, as well as I don't have any experience in the medical field, unfortunately, and I imagine I'll be nervous. So although I have learned a lot of things about the equipment and everything, you never know. I imagine the first day, you know, you might forget a little bit if you're very nervous. The best thing to do, I think, is just to be honest with my preceptor if, you know, I happen to have someone from the hospital rather than one of our school's clinical instructors, because that does happen sometimes, just to be honest and tell them, hey, we went over this, can you please show it to me, or I'd love to see your way of doing something, because I never want to tell someone no. Even if I do something a million times, you know, it's always good to see other people's way of doing it, because you never know. Every person has a different way of doing it. It doesn't mean the other person is wrong, but perhaps this person has a new way of doing it that may work better for you. So you can take all the bits and pieces of things you learn from various respiratory therapists and kind of apply it to, you know, whatever fits best for you. Anyways, as I get closer to my clinicals, once I find out a little bit more, I'll give you guys some more information, and I'll keep updating you along the way. Yep, that's it. Alright, I'll see you guys next time, okay? Hey guys, so I am back again. Or whatever. Hopefully you guys like the course, which in that class. And if you guys do have any questions, feel why?